Your Holiness, civic leaders, students, faculty, staff members, and community, on behalf of the University of Utah, welcome to this special occasion. We are grateful for this remarkable opportunity to host the visit of His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama. I also want to welcome those of you who are joining us by live streaming. We are very appreciative of your attendance and participation in this event as well. It is a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you to the numerous individuals whose collective efforts and perseverance have made this day possible. We are especially grateful to the Utah Tibet Foundation for bringing His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, back to our state, to Utah. We also want to recognize the Utah Tibet Association and all of the members of the Tibetan community who are here with us, and some of whom provided beautiful entertainment leading up to this event. Each of you, through your attendance here today, provides the means for them to accomplish their goals of supporting the unity of local Tibetans and of preserving their language and culture here in Utah. The University of Utah is committed to fostering reflection on the values of society while engaging students, faculty, and staff, and the larger community in conversations that lead to positive transformation. We promote diversity, equal opportunity, and respect for individual beliefs. It's therefore a distinct honor to share the podium with His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama. He has lived a life dedicated to those principles, and among many other honorable ideals. For the past 57 years, as a political refugee, he has continued to provide guidance as a spiritual leader for millions of Buddhists around the world. His Holiness has also peacefully raised awareness of Tibet and its people by generously sharing his teachings through his actions, public speaking, and numerous books. He has inspired religious and non-religious people worldwide. In recognition of his tremendous influence across the entire world, His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama, was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize and the Congressional Medal of Honor, Congressional Gold Medal, among others. I had the privilege of joining him this morning at Huntsman Cancer Hospital with several of our cancer patients as he greeted them and offered support. And I can tell you, His Holiness is a very special individual. So today it is my special pleasure to humbly present him with the University of Utah Presidential Medal. This is the highest honor that I can bestow as president, and is completely appropriate to recognize his extraordinary efforts to engage society in important conversations that lead to greater understanding and enlightenment, tolerance, and positive transformation. So, Your Holiness, it's my honor to give you this, but we're not going to ask him to put it around his neck because it's heavy.
Don't put it on. It is heavy.
No. Not heavy. No problem. Oh, give me that hat.
Yes, oh yes, visor.
It is strong light. This is very, very practical.
So it is now my honor and pleasure to introduce His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama, who will speak today on compassion and universal responsibility. Sir.
No.
Thank you. Organizer, she told us there's still people
Waiting in
Entry.
line, coming in.
So then we thought at the beginning, let us start some question answer till you see people entering, coming. So
let me
main sort of question answer is after my talk. But at the beginning, while we are waiting people, so some questions.
we have received a series of questions from via the internet, and so I will start with that while the rest of the people outside come in, and then His Holiness will address the audience. This question comes from a grieving individual, and he wrote, "I recently lost my father to suicide. Can you give me some enlightenment on the eternal soul's journey after one takes their own life?"
Sad. Now it is really sufficient reason feel sad. But then think, sadness, see, will not bring your father again. Back. So for example, my own tutor, senior tutor, I received a lot of teaching and also received the highest monk ordination. So while he alive, I feel some kind of solid rock which I can lean. When he passed away, I really felt no longer I can so lean.
Lean on.
Then I thought, now that instead of sadness, that sort of occasion must use for strengthening my will, my determination to fulfill my late tutor's wish. Right. So similarly, now here, you see, your case also, of course, indeed, very, very sad. But now you should work hard and make effort, you see, to fulfill your late father's sort of wish. And then some way, your late father knows about your sort of condition. If you remain very sad, then father also feels sad. So if you, in spite of that tragedy, you carry your life in a meaningful way, full of sort of enthusiasm, then father feels very happy. So think this line. Then what happened after death? That's a more complicated now question. According to theistic religion, this life, this very life created by God. Then after death, you see, I think a certain period, we remain in coffin. So if someone go to hell, then I think while remain in coffin, that's for a short period, that's a good
Rest.
period, rest. So anyway, so either go to heaven or go to hell. So those people who lead meaningful life, meaningful means if possible, whenever possibility there, serving other, helping other. If not, at least restrain harming other. That's the meaningful life. So, like your late father, I'm sure, you see, lead, I think, a meaningful life. In that case, now he will eventually reach heaven, like that. So, then those, how say, tradition, such as many Indian traditions, such as Jain tradition, Sankhya philosophy, and many other sort of Hindu tradition. You see, we have, and also the Buddhism, you see, life after life. And also, before this life, there were many lives. So, there are sort of differences. So these, and particularly those traditions which have no concept of creator, but rather self-creation. So then, including Buddhism, Jainism, that kind of sort of the philosophical view. So therefore, they usually we call law of causality. No central authority as a creator, but one's own action, you see, and as a causes, and then action bring positive or negative result. That's
Karma.
that we call karma, or like law of causality, cause, fruit, like that. So, and then basically the life go continuously. And I think a major Indian tradition, 양반 가서 가서 장집을 오다 그랬다 그래.
양멤버. 자르바.
나는 되게 추스. 야, 양 지금 제가서 장집을.
삼켜.
상자 philosophy. And as well as Jainism and Buddhism, the self, no beginning, no end. When people reach nirvana, moksha, still the being there. So different sort of different answer according to different philosophical views.
Well, thank you very much. Let's do one more, and then I think we'll have about everybody in. One of our doctoral students, Rinchan Poonsuk, would like to know, you have been a consistent supporter of the inclusion of science in modern education. What role do you think scientific education plays in universal responsibility?
Yes, I think it depends. So what kind of science? One particular sort of field, then not much connection. But another way, like scientists who involve research about brain and about human health, then you see, they showing genuine interest is how to keep peaceful mind. And then there, you see, they, through the experiment, constant anger, constant sort of fear, destroy peace of mind, and through that way, destroy our physical health. So then, such sort of researcher Now, showing interest about compassion, love. So, love, compassion is very much based on sense of oneness of same human being. So individual do not want suffering, want happiness. So similarly, the others also have same desire, same right. On that basis, develop sense of concern of their well-being. So I have many friends among scientists. Actually, last 30 years, I have sort of serious engagement, discuss with scientists in different fields. So many genuine scientists, their mind very open, very neutral, unbiased. So I think as a true scientist, I think that mental attitude is very necessary. With that kind of mental attitude, further research, further
Studies now.
further study or knowledge, deeper way. If you certain level contented, then say, oh, that's our way of tradition. Then no further progress. So investigation, in order to carry investigation, so your mind must be open. And also it is necessary skepticism. That brings questions. Question brings effort to find answer. So if we contented, in our individual case, someone feel, I know everything, then no further progress. So therefore, I'm now 81-year-old person, but I always consider I'm student of those ancient Indian
Masters.
Indian masters, Indian philosopher, like that.
Thank you very much. I think we now have the audience here, so I would like you to go ahead with your address. Go ahead.
Okay. Firstly, I want to ask you, with this medal, this hat, do you see quite smart, or strange? Whenever I give a talk, I always stress we are same human being. Audience, speaker, basically same. Emotionally, mentally, physically. And more important, everyone want happy life. Do not want problem. So everyone have the right to achieve that or desire or goal. So further,
If we go further along,
it will go further. Entire 7 billion human beings, mentally, emotionally, physically, same. And the desire all have same, and all have same right. Now, even animals also have that kind of desire. But emotionally, because of biological differences, emotion level, there are some differences. And mental, particularly intelligence, much differences. But desire for peace, happy life, even animal, small tiny insects also have same desire and right to exist, where, to survive like that. So now important is that because you see, if you consider this speaker is something special, then my experience, no use for you,
No relevance.
Ah.
No relevance.
no relevance. If you consider me same, then some of my experience is it can be useful to the audience. And then also, you see, consider we are same. For my part, I never consider I'm something special, I'm 14th Dalai Lama. I never consider that. I just simple Buddhist monk, another human being out of one of the 7 billion human beings. So then I feel very easy to communicate with others. If I stress I'm something special, then when we met people, you see, there are some people, you see, they consider importance of their own position or something. Then formality is automatically come. Then formality is actually one barrier of close connection. Informal, completely. When we born, no formality. At the time of our death, no formality. I think between there, when we enter hospital, medical treatment, no formality. So, more serious sort of experience in our life, no formality. When we quite okay, then we consider formality as something important. In my mind, it is quite silly. 소수 가서 진짜 여러분 배우자래. 덤다하게 소수 찍어야지.
네.
어디 소리지? 소수 찍고 쉽지 다 잡고 싶었어. 타모를 소수 찍는 소리도.
So there is a Tibetan saying that that kind of self-imprisonment is like a spider spinning its own web and getting caught in it.
So we too much emphasis some minor thing, and that creates additional problem. Then on top of that, a lot of problem which we humanity now facing. So much killing and starvation. Same human being on the same planet. Very sad, very, very sad. When we look television, some Middle East or Africa, children, due to malnourished,
Malnourished.
their face, so sad. And meantime, violence, bombing. What benefit? All this comes. Me, we, and self-centered attitude. And don't care about others' well-being, others' life. So now, in order to tackle this problem, not through prayer. I think I'm Buddhist. In my daily practice, prayer also included. But for individual the prayer is relevant and useful. But for
Society.
society or world, prayer, I think, not much meaning. One occasion in Hiroshima, some Nobel laureates peace sort of meeting. So some Nobel laureates and some organization who also have the Nobel laureate, right? Nobel laureate. You see, they mention peace through prayer. Then my turn. I'm quite skeptical. Peace through prayer. I think 1,000 years we pray, but not positive result. During war, I think both sides pray to God. Oh, yeah. And nowadays, you see Sunni, Shia, some sort of conflict. I think both pray to Allah. And sometimes I jokingly, of course, with my respect, jokingly, you see, telling both sides pray to one God. Then God, I think, find difficult. His bless should go this side or that side. So then logically, if we have the opportunity seeing Buddha or Jesus Christ or Muhammad ask, please bring peace on this planet, I think these sort of, also the founder, teachers, I think logically will say, who creates violence? Who destroys peace? Not God, but you. So you have the responsibility to solve this problem, since you created. So that's quite logical. So at that time, in Hiroshima, I mentioned peace come only through action, not through prayer, not through blessing. So then there are many Japanese, some I think local officials also there. They usually remain a little bit sort of reserved. But then when I expressed that way, they also
applauded.
So that's true. So now this such terrible sort of situation which we are facing, if we not make effort with full enthusiasm, determination, this present situation, unhealthy situation, go continuously, then this 21st century will be same century, 20th century, lot of bloodshed, suffering. So, I think our generation witnessed what really happened in 20th century. According to some historian, they say more than 200 millions of people killed through violence. So if such immense sort of violence create new shape, better shape of this planet, and then we may justify, but that is not the case. So this beginning of 21st century, some pockets, some sort of violence, this, I believe, symptom of past mistake. And I think today's reality much changed, but concerned people who deal this sort of problem still carrying old thinking. Whenever you find some sort of disagreement or differences, you see, they relying use force. That's old thinking. The 20th century's sort of thinking, that outdated. So now, See, firstly, population much increased, and world economy or livelihood very much interdependent. A global economy, you see, no national boundary. So that's the new reality. Now, in order to face this new reality, old thinking not fit. Now we must create new way of thinking, more sense of global responsibility. I really, you see, impressed. Recently, BBC reported many European young people, they expressed they are the global citizens. So that's, I think, hopeful sign. And I personally also, you see, come across in Europe. As previously, different country, even you see killing each other. Eventually, European Union created. Now, for example, one of my great friend, respected friend, as a matter of fact, almost my tutor about quantum physics, von Weizsäcker, a German scientist. You see, he, in I think the 1990s, and he also quite old then, he told me once, when he was a young German, in German eye, French is their enemy. And similarly, in the eyes of French, German is their enemy. But that kind of situation completely changed. Actually, the generation or the leader who implement the concept of European Union or start by de Gaulle, or French President de Gaulle, and the German Chancellor Adenauer. So when they are young, negative attitude. But then time changed, reality changed. Then these two persons, I think, are leading leaders to set up a European Union. So these, I think, really, through difficult experience, more mature, more realistic. So these ideas, these also thinking, come. So therefore, I think time passes, you see, people talking more and more global issue. So when I think my own sort of experience, when I reached India, 1959, April, then main concern is those several thousand Tibetans who follow with us, the immediate sort of their livelihood. Then gradually, immense help or sympathy from Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, Indian Prime Minister. You see, eventually we settlement, project of settlement, and also education to the children. So at that time, our main concern is how to create self-supporting community, meantime preserve our own identity, and then education, modern education, plus our own language or these things. And then we also created such a monastic institution to carry continuously knowledge about Nalanda masters sort of thinking like that. Yeah. So these are work for preservation of our tradition. Then 73, 1973, I had opportunity to visit some European countries. Then, and also, you see, while we are remaining in India, more sort of opportunity meeting with people from the West. And then gradually, we noticed the society where material sort of material facility highly developed. But people who in that kind of society, that kind of lifestyle, not necessarily very happy one. Some my friend, I think a billionaire, very rich, but as a human being, very unhappy, I notice. So therefore, material external development alone, no guarantee or create happy human being, happy society. So then, at that time, I also, you see, start talking sense of global responsibility. You see, actually, the sense of oneness of 7 billion human beings. On that base, develop sense of serious concern other people's well-being as your own well-being, like that. So therefore, then, you see, more wider contact from our own experience, how to develop inner peace. Then, of course, out of 7 billion human beings, over 1 billion non-believer. So the method to cultivate or to
promote love.
To promote sense of concern of others' well-being on the religious base will not cover entire 7 billion beings. So we need, without relying on religious belief, simply use our common sense, common experience, and particularly scientific finding. As I mentioned earlier, last 30 years, I have series of discussion with scientists. So, some occasion, the scientists, you see, through their own sort of investigation, what is the basic human nature? Then they concluded, use some different reasons. Then they say, basic human nature is more compassionate. So that really gives me real hope. If our basic nature is anger, then no hope. If basic nature of human being is more compassionate as a social animal, because the affection is the basic foundation of our survival. So therefore, more of a compassionate mind here, physical, more healthier, more friend or friendship comes, then happy family, happy community. So therefore, you see, there is real hope. Now time comes, we have to make effort, the happier world and global level. That's the sense of universal responsibility, the sense of global responsibility. Now that key factor is sense of concern of others' well-being. So sense of concern of others' well-being. Also, you say, I think the best way to get benefit to oneself. Firstly, as soon as that kind of mental attitude comes, you see, you develop more self-confidence and enthusiasm, optimism. That brings more inner strength, inner peace. That gradually affect our health also, like that. So we already now committed how to educate to children from kindergarten up to university level about this moral ethics, not relying on religious approach. So I think within next few months, we may finalize draft
Curriculum.
curriculum about the moral ethics, strictly not based on religion, like that. So we here, according to my own experience now, you see, we are same, but differences. You see, I'm now quite old, one elder person, and also my life. You see, almost I think at the age 16, I lost my freedom. Age 24, I lost my own country. Then over now 57 years, there's a lot of difficulties, a lot of sort of heartbreaking news from Tibet. A lot of difficulties. And then also, you see, when, as I mentioned earlier, when hearing or seeing, a lot of problem, essentially human, our own creation. But these, you see, not causing depression or kasurta, mujiba,
Sadness and depression.
or like that. So therefore, I want to share, according to my own experience, no matter how difficult it is, we have the ability to keep inner strength. Now, how many Tibetans here? Raise hand. Oh. Oh, here. Most of you here. So, may I use few words in Tibetan? So that's top secret. I think I speak a few words, a few sentences in Tibetan. Then if necessary, he will translate. Also puri, da phaji deve, da lo halam da tongda, the needs, the shechori. And then to the when she, also miri rishun the chaba, changing some of the devji to the chabri. Also mirati, when she gang chambo jita, Nyanjang tobu ji to Zula, and the gave Miruchi. Charging the Samdana, Mazumane, Miriki, Ningdo Taya, Miriki, Namju Taya, Kugoji Chombare. Mazutanga, earlier, Mazumane, she Zavemi, Ningdo, Namju, Yoridi, the Chungza go kwache. 나도 나자 지기실 능동 또 당체 다 독신은 아주 대대고 봐. 근데 출루탄에 지기 가서를 그게 다 능동 또 당체 독세대요. 나중에 라마 기부터 할 때 저기 지기 투견의 제체. 최선의 자나 사무스게 맵체. 충수 소소수 건바다 지금 라다로다 지금 되겠다 네. 얘네 천재도 펴주시고 말이야. 이네 그거는 천재 펴주시고 그러다. 저는 가다여니 된대지기다 충분해. 레데당 만도데 안데 년당 뒤주디 표 자신이면 미사야 주디 폐지 니를 랑버서 차서. 차서. 당원에 아주 전부링 교시고 좀 줘야 돼. 내 zonzo 땡시랑 시기요. 당가 별이야 가지고 배워서 무슨 꽃dum체. 두선 예용 가리 용기에면 도나코리 쳐내요 말이야. 두서 대저를 가지고. 나 다장 가지고 내수 톱도 쉬우디 와리야. 딴 전부는 실로를 마지고 템버다. 내수 뭔가 통비야. 나 되게 난수 남주다. 지금 닝도디 그게 돼야지다. 닝도디다 뭐서 라랭게 해야지 뒤줄 내서. 저상 난수 매력디 처지는 삼다는 뭐는지 랭에 싸게 매력 소리들이 처지는 삼다는 별 미리기 최대 리숑 뭐는 자네 숭접지하다. 숭접성도 마세베 라수 뒤에 별거 찍어올 많이 봐. 뭐는 전부니 양등 대가라 뭐는 지 갈라 가서가 편도 제도야지 뒤주실 내디었다. 사실이 인데 나랑 거는 자신은 나 배워지리. 어다 대길로야들이 대배 냠냠도 싸윤데 다정 안거나 다니 그 땡루시키. 난주 배배 신윤나라. 생급을 입고 쏘르 주베. 애는 장바다 자와서 주제 컨디션을 로좀 떼고 위험이 라는 컨디션 하고 위험이 개인 시당 녀보 컨디션 위험이 대주태디 난주 흉나는 여대버디디 최근 내주를 마셔보시지. din zambuni chilo khowaji re-re-sha, khowadi ngoshibe tone ta zambuni chili ya, chigi shamdi tuktu ya chigi, azu ta samdang tuzul le-sha. Sa didi yindu, azu pewazo, anda budu huda chebari, ta tadungi ne, sangme huda che, nyingdobki, shumbe pongpole tagmari, nyingdobki, jashi mima, 실리 자신은 그리스도 강에 들으시고 하래요. 뭐냐 전에 항상 님도 교배신 때 되게 하래. 미러다 숨버 씹어시 레되게 하래. 시 노중하다네 다 뒤타다 봐도 다 미러카시 친사를 해야지. 뭐냐 전에 그 미리기 심슈 때 뱉더니 교배시 되기도 하. 아니 별 미리기 아주 게이 애는 아주 리숑 산제베 최선이 너는 자로 너무 된다고 주고 말해 산제베 흉내 숨고 떠주 이 사실 아주 배배 라소스 레스페셜로 투야래샤 뭐는 지 배배 정신이 남주시에 되버디 다 남주고 권지해야 돼 야가를 개배 흉득이 되기 아니 리베 남는 때네 냠십치하다 리베 남는 때네 즉 재주시야 근데지 그 여대버시도 와 사실은 인도 다 사물로 뭐네 소소소 배가지인데보다 아주 뭔지 있는 매부즈 깔래 깼네 말하면서 최대 직중 떠주 최대에 떠주 심어샤게 또 최샤되어래 사실은 인도산에 어다 대대가 가서다 가서 우리 직중 쓰내면도 어다 떠주 쓰내면도 땡습지 여대버디 다 아주 다고돼야 돼 백해 하신 거래 소수 미리 뽑아내야 돼. 딴데 데이터는 용도가. 아니 저분이 찔리 편도 치해야지. 그거 요래. 다 디자우르 직접 비리셔. 산창수 현지조 비리터야 통나제. 아니 철 대바 연애제 매내제. 배 날린데 캐버져 송시도 떠주디. 아니 떠주도 참아지고디 통나제 과지리 현과지리. 죄송아. 고소해. 죄송아. nghe từ cái gì cái nào thì lấy mà ta bỏ lo chỉ cho gì thì bỏ chỉ thì ngã ra lúc trước chính sao bây giờ này thứ gì đó cái gì này dùng được rất tệ lúc trước sẽ được cái sao chỉ làm rồi anh cái gì này chỉ lo chỉ ya da chỉ cái lo lại ya kiến rồi ya thì cái thằng nào chả nó ya rồi anh ngã chụp根据研究生呢不的숨져서 여대부터 이디 최종 나라래 자신부시 직시하지 말이 롭송시하지 롭대부시 죄송아 이 차상로도 롭트야 요구 말이 돼 이내 디나로네 그슝 쳐다보던데 돈한채 고소 독시야 앵아들 투체 샤가부총 장주에 대 사전에 160도 장주 응주가 용의 장주 네 가서 솔렉사래. 솔렉 비찬즈 사제디 담간 노민도 사자고 사중샤 사소한 괜히 섭소치야 부다치야
So I'll very briefly summarize what he said. His Holiness was addressing the Tibetan people, saying that we, the Tibetan people,
Well,
are
it's
really
great.
an ancient people that has more than 2,000 years history. And but in this long more than 2,000 years history of our people, the current period is probably the most critical period the Tibetan people have gone through. And it is critical because the very survival or existence of the Tibetans as a people, as a nation, is under threat. But at the same time, it is also the critical period that has given us, our generation, the opportunity to demonstrate the strength and resilience and the intelligence of our people. Because in the past in Tibet, we Tibetans have been often caught up in our own very small, petty disputes, the disputes between the monasteries, disputes between the different Buddhist sects, and so on. And Tibetan people did not really had the opportunity to demonstrate its inner resilience. But the critical period, which is very tragic, but at the same time has offered our generation an opportunity to demonstrate the depth of our character and show our resilience. So this is something that we really have to remember. And then also, one of the things about the Tibetan heritage is also, we are custodians of a very important heritage coming from classical Indian Buddhist tradition. And this is a classical heritage that is not only of value for the Tibetan people, but it also has potential to make contributions to the larger world as well. For example,
and then I think directly now People's Republic of China in China now about 400 million Buddhists there. So many of them really showing genuine respect, interest about Buddhism, which we kept over 1,000 years, which is direct link of Nalanda tradition.
And then to continue the translation, His Holiness was saying that from his own personal experience, as he remained in exile and had the opportunity to interact with people from many different backgrounds and walks of life, he also began to...
Now time come, I think this matter rest here.
He began to appreciate the importance of the Tibetan classical heritage and also began to recognize what are the important offerings that one can make from our own tradition to the larger world. For example, in the area of promotion of compassion, understanding of loving kindness, and also the important role that can be found from the classical understanding of the human psychology, the ways in which mind works. All of that knowledge coming from the classical Indian tradition, and which the Tibetans have kept, can be of tremendous, there can be a potential to contribute to the larger world. And therefore, he was advising the Tibetans to really be cognizant of this and also take pride in the fact that we are people that are the custodians of this important heritage. And therefore, even though we are going through a very difficult, critical period in our history, we should not give up hope, because giving up hope has never really been a recipe for success. We need to keep our determination, and we need to keep our courage. And inside Tibet as well, if we look at the history of our struggle, now from the 1950s, one could say that almost 3 generations have passed, but the determination of the Tibetan people and the spirit of the Tibetan people has remained very, very strong. And this will be the case. And one of the things that is sustaining the spirit of the Tibetan people really is the classical Buddhist heritage, which I could say is almost like the life force of the Tibetan people and Tibetan identity. And this is something that we need to appreciate, particularly the younger generation. And because the classical Buddhist heritage that we have received is a tradition which emphasizes the use of critical reasoning and critical thinking. And therefore, the younger generations can really appreciate this heritage and try to take pride in this fact, and also this gives our younger generation also the understanding of the importance of Tibetan language, because it is the Tibetan language that serves as the medium for this classical Indian and Tibetan Buddhist heritage. Therefore, we need to, the younger generation needs to continue to keep the language alive. In my own case, I'm 81 years old. As I said right at the beginning of my talk, that I consider myself student. And this attitude of being a student is important. So all of you should relate to the canonical collections of 300 volumes that we have, not as sacred texts, but more as textbooks, and select some of the key texts from this and study them. And this, I think, is very important. And then, especially for the Tibetan community here, I can tell you that you have found yourself, although outside your homeland, but in a very beautiful place here in Salt Lake City. And I can tell you that when you made the choice to make Salt Lake City your second home, you haven't made a mistake. It's very beautiful.
I always try to share with public. Now time come, we have to make effort to achieve a happier world, or compassionate world. And this century should be more peaceful, more happier century. So if we make effort now, the later part of the 21st century can be more peaceful, more compassionate, more happier. If we simply, follow our old thinking, then I think miserable experience continue. So now, my brothers, sisters, now I think several thousand here, you should not think, oh, world problem is huge. I or one individual cannot do much. This is wrong thinking. The change of humanity, change of the century, the first individual start. One individual try to develop sense of oneness of humanity, and on that sense of concern of well-being of 7 billion human beings. For that, we must create peaceful world. Firstly, one individual should have that kind of sort of feeling or view. Then create your own family. Within your own family, these sort of share these two thinking. Then one family, 10 family, 10 family, 100 family, 1,000 family. That's the way to change the society. So that's the way I think in America, I always was telling the leading nation of free world. And then already in this country, already you see few cities, they develop the name of the city, they call city of kindness, city of compassion. No other country has developed that, only in this country. So now, I think next week, you see, about 200 cities mayor going to meet.
In Indianapolis, conference of mayors.
Their annual meeting. So they invited me. So I'm looking forward. You see, already I think a few cities already have that name. I think that kind of spirit, should spread. In Canada, British Columbia, also you see really showing genuine interest in these things. So then, different part of the world, if America is really make significant sort of effort, then I think many people, many countries, I think eventually we should follow. Or recently, one meeting organized by American Peace Kasa,
United States Peace Institute in Washington.
or they organized one meeting. About 14 countries, some Arab countries, some African countries, where a lot of killing going on. So youth, about 20 of them, you see, come. And I really admired these young male and female develop desire or determination. We must make peace. We must make effort for peace under desperate situation. Some sort of stay through violence. Some people, some there, because of that.
Friends and families.
Dead. Such circumstances, some of these young people develop determination. Now, if this situation goes continuously, then no hope. We must make effort. So I really should admire. So there are people, so really now committed, making better world, peaceful world. So America, as a leading nation of free world, I think should make effort. And we just met governor and lunch together. So governor has mentioned the state.
Governor spoke a lot about the achievements and contributions of Utah State.
So now, America in general, particularly this state, as governor sort of praising, you must make effort to lead to lead this worldwide movement. Okay, but if those people who feel some interest about my talk, then try to implement and lead and try to make contribution for better world. If someone who have not much interest, then it is your freedom. Should not consider something like a burden.
Should not consider it's a burden.
So whatever you like, or alcohol, or
Cigarettes, yeah.
Cigarette, or drugs, or nightclub, then up to you. Okay, thank you. Now some questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have time for a couple more questions that I'll ask. So this was interesting because at the University of Utah, many of us are involved in various aspects of research on global climate change and on pollution, environment, things like that. So one of the people has asked you, what do you believe to be the most effective approach regarding climate change?
That I don't know. I think better to ask some specialist about that. So certainly, I have sort of serious concern about environment. You see, because you see, this small planet, blue planet, is our only home. So if this planet, you see, what's the
It's damaged beyond repair.
then no other choice. So this is only home. So we not only just utilize the nature resources, but also we have the responsibility to look after this planet. That I know, but the detail I don't know.
Okay. Now, this is a question that I'm sure you must have been asked many times. So our final question is this. Do you think it's possible that you will be able to return to Tibet in your lifetime? What do you think about that?
Most of Tibetan, you see, I think except those too old, one my friend now 98-year-old. So I don't know whether they can see, you see, Tibet or not. That I don't know. I think otherwise, you see, most of us always feel, oh, one day will come, our meeting with Shiji Nyamzum.
Meeting between the Tibetans from the exile with the Tibetans back home.
Right.
So, and then I think one main reason is since 74, we are not seeking independence. There are several reasons. We are materially backward. We also want more modernization, more material development. Economic development. For that, remain within the People's Republic of China is our own interest. Meantime, Chinese constitution also mentioned a certain right for different so-called minority. These rights implement fully on the spot. Then, you see, our main concern is preservation of our own identity, our own culture, these things. Then, economy side, remain within People's Republic of China, then suddenly, you see, we get a lot of money for further development. So because, you see, 1974, we decided that. Then 79, then Deng Xiaoping there, you see, Deng Xiaoping sent some sort of indication or message he wanted to discuss about Tibetan problem with us. So then, my emissary met him. Then you see, he mentioned, beside question of independence, anything can be discussed. So those realistic leaders thinking like that. And nowadays, you see, those narrow-minded hardliner, you see, they. Sometimes I usually is telling. Sometimes I telling, you see, they are not using human common sense. So sometimes I sort of mentioning some of these hardliners' brain, some part of brain which usually develop common sense, that part of brain missing. So, but now time change, according to time, large number of Chinese tourists visit different outside world and also Tibet. So many Chinese tourists who wants to visit Tibet, then they are sort of more sort of sympathetic attitude. And also they realize Tibet have their own different language, different culture, like that. And then I have one story. I heard one occasion some Chinese, some Chinese from mainland China to Lhasa, you see, in aeroplane. There are also some Tibetans also there. They noticed two Chinese, one businessman, one official. So that official, you see, telling as their usual sort of version or Tibet backward or something, and the Dalai Lama split this on these things. So then the Chinese businessman who who visit outside world. So then he argued that person, no, I know, you see, the outside world sort of also the understanding about Tibet and about Dalai Lama. So for some time, these two Chinese, one official hardliner, one Chinese businessman who have more knowledge about Tibet, so they argue like that. So some Tibetan, they interestingly listen. Like that. So like that. So therefore, more and more Chinese intellectuals, some students, some professors. I think last about 4 years, we noticed about 1,000 articles wrote by Chinese, many Chinese, overseas Chinese, and also it's a few hundred within the China. So all 1,000 articles in Chinese language wrote by Chinese, all of them fully support about our middle way approach and very critical about government policy. So these are, I think, healthy signs as a result of knowing more and more the reality. So things are changing. So therefore, I feel that China proper, for their own interest, for their own future, the present their rigid sort of system and closed society is very harmful for their own future. So eventually, I think we'll change. That's my view.
Perfect.
And meantime, our friends, you see, whenever you have some sort of opportunity meeting some Chinese brothers, sisters, or businessmen, or student, or some tourist,
Or officials now. Or officials.
And then tell them the reality. So like that. So I'm basically optimistic like that.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for being with us today. What a wonderful experience to have you with us, Your Holiness. Okay. And now it is my great pleasure, before we conclude, to introduce Pamela Atkinson, who is going to give us a report. Pamela is widely known for her humanitarian efforts in the state of Utah. Pamela?
Thank you.
I think sit.
I'm actually going to give you a financial report, but it's not boring. Let me tell you that right up front. We are so grateful to His Holiness for being here and for your words of wisdom. Those of us on the Utah Tibet Foundation have been associated with the Tibetan people here for over 19 years. And we love their gentleness, we love their kindness, we love their compassion. And we're always happy to be part of their life in Utah. So, don't you want to know what happened to the money that you paid for the tickets? Some of you paid $35, some of you paid $20. Well, how was that ticket money spent? So let's just quickly look at the revenue and expenses for this terrific event. Ticket sales to fill this great building brought in $300,000. So thank you all for buying the tickets. That was great. Appreciate it. Sponsorships from the university came to $30,000. Thank you, President. But you also know that with revenue comes expenses. And my word, do they ever add up. So we have the expenses for the venue, for the Huntsman Center, and it includes the rental of this excellent facility, and also the operations and staffing. And then there's the equipment. And I do apologize that you had to wait so long to get through the magnetometers. Now, the fact that I can say that one word, magnetometers, that's the new metal detectors, and we apologize that you had to wait so long to get through them. But they did of course, add up. Travel costs for our esteemed visitors. And so you're probably saying, okay, Pamela, get on with it. What is the bottom line of revenue over expenses? Well, the math shows that approximately, I'm saying approximately because you know how the bills come in, $94,000 was left. And His Holiness will decide on the disbursement of these funds to Primary Children's Hospital.
Yay.
His Holiness had a wonderful visit there in 2001 and was very touched by the children who had studied up on His Holiness and asked the most pertinent and straightforward questions. Number two, and this of course is near and dear to my heart, some of the money will also go to the homeless services here in Utah. Number three, the preservation of Utah Tibetan culture here in Utah. And number four, preservation of the Tibetan culture through the Dalai Lama's charitable trust. And this includes education, health, and social development. So I just have a question for you. How would you like to increase the amount of that donation? Having heard His Holiness's inspiring words, you know the traffic is going to be pretty bad. So on your way out, how about stopping at the booths? Much merchandise is still there for sale, knowing that it'll all go to the programs that are near and dear to His Holiness's heart. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
David.
Pamela.
Yeah.
It's great to be with you.
Yeah, you too. Thank you, Your Holiness.
So, in closing, I just want to honor the sponsors of from the university, the Office of Global Engagement, the AZA Center, the Global Health Center, the Hinckley Institute of Politics, and the Tanner Center for Nonviolent Human Advocacy with the Tanner Humanities Center. Thank you so much for coming. Out of respect, we would ask you to stay seated until we move the Dalai Lama, His Holiness, out of the stage. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You just have to make it informal. Who wants to listen to a boring?
What an honor. Thank you. Thank you. Dikisho. Oh, yeah. So, thank you. Good night. Yes. Okay. It's okay. I think you already, notice my knees, right? These are quite difficult. This, anyway, as a reminder, you are old person. But my brain or mind quite clear. So sometimes, sometimes I mention, you see, even eventually this become worse, and on wheelchair I can come and blah 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 my God. Thank you.